So I've been singing to older people, so if you can just imagine that you're old, some of us doesn't take that much imagination. But anyway, this is a song, I write my own songs in case you've never heard me before. This song is called So Unknown. And you know, there's folks of course, in homes, and sometimes people never know their name. And there's different ways of looking at this song. One thing as a singer, or as a singer about God, the best thing that could happen for me is to be unknown and to direct people to God, not get hung up on the singer. Sometimes people do that. And the other thing is, going through what we just went through, sometimes you listen to the news, you think you're just a number, a statistic, but you're not unknown to God. We're individuals, we're not just numbers. Nobody ever really knew his name, the town from which he came. Only stayed a few short days, then moved on. We had no water and he dug us a well, fixed the organ in the old church bell. That's a story that the old folks tell. He was so unknown, had a little meat shop over on 4th, wife and 5 kids to support, and no frills kind of life some call mundane. But he had a smile that'd warm your day. Well, the meat, he nearly gave it away. His grave has just a little worn bouquet, 'cause he was so unknown. He was so unknown. Nobody gave him a second look, and his formula for living would never make a bestseller book. Lived his life alone, with no fans filling up the aisle. Earthly goals were just not his style, but he lived a life more than a little worthwhile. Yet he was so unknown. She was born with such poor health, never had prestige or wealth. In the schoolyard she was often pushed away. Didn't climb that social tower, no vain accomplishments or power. She prayed for others by the hour. But she was so unknown. Taught the children in Sunday school right ways of living in the golden rule. Most of the parents didn't know her name, some didn't care. Church going was just something to do. They'd nod their head and even sing on cue. Never noticed that lady in the very back pew. She was so unknown. She was so unknown. Nobody gave her a second look, and her formula for living would never make a bestseller book. Lived her life alone, with no fans filling up the aisle. Earthly goals were just not her style, but she lived a life more than a little worthwhile. But she was so unknown. There's so many more that fit that bill, rejected by the world, following God's will. He was merely a carpenter's son, but one day the world would know what he'd done. Just a little over 30 years they came and took him out. They used a cross to finish off the job, 3 nails and an angry mob. Could have been a big religious snob, but he remained unknown. He was so unknown. Nobody gave him a second look, but his formula for living was written in an old familiar book. He died alone, with no fans filling up the aisle. Earthly goals were just not his style, but he lived a life more than a little worthwhile. Yet he was so unknown, he's walked so many through their deepest trial. Yet he's so unknown. There's a story some of you might know, but I didn't know until a couple of years ago. Some of the old hymns, I know some of them, but do you know the story, What a Friend We Have in Jesus? This is a man, 1800s, on the wedding day. Imagine on a wedding day. Two bride and groom meet before the wedding at the river on two horses, and her horse throws her in the river. She hits her head on a rock and she dies on wedding day. That probably tore that man to pieces, I'm sure. But he didn't get bitter. He turned to God for comfort. And a few years later, he met another lady, and all the plans were being made for the wedding. And of all things, she took sick and died before the wedding. Man lost two wives. But he wrote that song, What a Friend We Have in Jesus. Oh, what needless pain we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. And this song, sorry, I'm rushing here a little bit. I'm used to longer. So, this song here is called God Read Between the Tear Stains. And it's personal for me. This was from 2019. I went through something really, really hard. And it was written in the middle of the night. And I'm not the only one on this earth that's been through some. And what's happening in the last couple of years, there's some folks that have had some pretty hard moments in those homes where I would sing, but not just there. There's some of you, I'm sure, you've had your moments when like this song says, if you were to you didn't even know what to say to God. And if you were to write your prayer down, it would just say, Dear Lord, on the top, and then there would be just tear stains on the paper. And you think, I didn't even say anything, but you got through. Because God can read between the tear stains. God knows, He understands, more than we realize, I think. God read between the tear stains on the note you wrote last night. Dear Lord was all you jotted down, but you worded it just right. He understood the meaning, even though the pain remains. You may have only said two words, but God read between the stains. You tried to sleep but couldn't. Your mind was spinning round. You were counting through the memories. The bad was all you found. Afraid you couldn't tell him. He may not hear one who complains. But God knew what you were saying, 'cause He read between the stains. You paced around from room to room, sorting through your life, trying to count the good things, but the hurt cut like a knife. The morning greeted you with clouds. You know the feeling when it rains. Your letter had been dry, but God read between the stains. You grabbed a pad, but nothing came. Just like the night before, dear Lord, and you tapped your pen. But there was nothing more. When we're overcome with burdens, that's when God takes the reins. So don't worry about the letter, 'cause God read between the stains. God read between the tear stains on the note you wrote last night. Dear Lord was all you jotted down, but you worded it just right. He understood the meaning, even though the pain remains. You may have only said 2 words, but God read between the stains. I think of all the others who have walked upon this earth, who have lost men and wives, saw their children die at birth, and the pain of separation as couples boarded different trains, poured their hearts out on a pillow, but God read between the stains. To those who trust He's able to make all things work for good, when you feel this world has let you down, no one's understood. God can heal your heavy heart. He's got lots of letter frames, so go ahead and write in. He can read between the stains. God read between the tear stains on the note you wrote last night. Dear Lord was all you jotted down, but you worded it just right. He understood the meaning, even though the pain remains. You may have only said 2 words, but God read between the stains. You may have only said 2 words, but God read between the stains. I have a little poem here. I have to put my glasses on to see it, which is always good because I get to look you over then. You're better looking than the last bunch I sang to. So, but this, some of you I'm sure can identify with this. But this was 3 years ago in the summer. I woke up in the middle of the night. I wrote down this little prayer. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's done this. It's called Prayer on a Sleepless Night. Dear Lord, having a little trouble sleeping these days. I think it's because this world has changed in so many ways. I know I'm old and I can't expect everything to stay the same. But what I'm seeing today is to bring folks a lot of shame. I know there's always been a bunch of drinking and cussing, but that's not the main reason why my heart's been doing so much fussing. I remember how I used to sit down for supper and watch the evening news, but now I just can't take it. Would rather be excused. I'd sooner go out for a walk and talk to my Father. Lately I'm finding that prayer sure ain't a bother. It's really about the only way I can stay sane, because when I'm talking to Him I can just pour out the pain. I know the good book says we ought to love thy neighbor, and I'm trying real hard, God, but can you do me a favor? When the evil's so bad I have to look the other way, can you give me compassion and help me to pray? And help me to remember how you took me from the gutter. In fact, when I think back, it kind of makes me shudder. So I guess there's still hope in a world that's getting so dark. And come to think of it, you never promised us a walk in the park. But I sure am getting homesick for heaven these days. I think it's part of me now. I'm not just going through a phase. My heart just gets so heavy when I'm looking around. I can hardly wait for the day when this old boy leaves town. I'm not afraid to die, push up some daisies, because I'm going to a place that isn't filled with crazies. I know they like to call Christians that, but that's only because they don't understand where life's really at. I'm hoping others will join me, and I know a bunch will. But tonight, dear Lord, I'm just asking you to hold me till I'm still and give me some peace so I can lay down my head and help me stop crying and remember what you said. In this world we'd have trouble, but you carry us through. So I'm going to say goodnight. And God, I love you. I'm sure there's other folks that felt that way. And God hears. I have a little song. Sometimes you sing it in the homes and you meet some, what you'd call seasoned saints that have walked down the road longer than I ever have. And they're sitting there in the middle of all this chaos in our world and they're in perfect peace. You think, what is it that they, well, you know what they have. They have a faith that's been tried and tested. They're not afraid to die. And this song here is called Leaving Home or Going Home. What is it? For some, when we die, there's folks when they die, they're leaving home. But for those who have made a decision to follow Him, they're not leaving home, they're going home. Her sister called the family. The doctor says it's time. There's nothing they can do now. She smiles and says that's fine. They're telling her it's over, but she knows that it's not. The difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. Neighbors think she's leaving. There's crying in the hall. Her relatives so far away are waiting for that call. Most are not believers, so they are all distraught. But the difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. This old world ain't heaven, no matter what they say. But somewhere deep inside, she's been longing for this day. She reaches for her diary, writes one final thought. The difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. While they attend their meetings, she's making plans to go. Their motto is keep fighting. It's all they seem to know. This world is often like that. They put us in one slot. But the difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. Some are plagued with cancer, some have hearts so weak. They've given you the verdict and all the words to speak, but you only need to listen to what the good Lord taught. The difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. This old world ain't heaven, no matter what they say. Somewhere deep inside, she's been longing for this day. She reaches for her diary, writes one final thought. The difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. found deep inside you, and the peace that it has brought. The difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. The difference in leaving home and going home's a lot. Now, I've got a song. I did this song. It was on the one album recorded in Nashville. And I'm always nervous when I'm singing, even in the studio. And I came out, and the producer said, "That's a good song." He said, "I'm guilty, but that's a really good song." Now, this song, I'm a little weird, just so you know. Okay. Now, if you go back in my history. See, I was, before I became a Christian, or in my late teens, early 20s, I was a TV-holic, I guess you'd call that. You know, I just sit there and watch after, every sports, and just on and on. Anytime I had a chance, I just sit there like a couch potato. And when I became a Christian, I didn't care for it much anymore. It was something like I didn't need that. And actually got rid of it, television, for 15 years at nothing. And then had one channel on for a while. And so I'd beat this drum, through the years. I'd say, like, when do we have time for God when we're always in front of something? And I should almost stand up for this song in case I have to run out of the building, because people get offended by things like this. But computers and me don't get along overly well, and I know they have some value. I get that. But this song here is called A Facebook Dropout, okay? And I'm not saying people can't use Facebook, don't get, but I'm saying, I sleep at truck stops, in the vehicle, got the bed made up, and you come in there, and you'll see some guy come in beside you, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and then there's this green glow on his face as he stares at his phone. And you wake up at 3 o'clock, there he is, still staring into this thing. Now tell me that's not an addiction. I've sang at detox centers where guys get off drugs and alcohol, and they told me that it was. They took their gadgets away from them. And so in our time that we're living in right now, people would probably find a lot more peace if they opened a good book and went for a walk. If we could put that thing down. I know, trust me, it's a thing, it'll pull you right in. Even when you're doing emails and stuff, it's like, oh my goodness, slap yourself. Put that away. But there's an old geezer, I love old geezers. They said this little story, and it kind of made me laugh, and it makes a lot of sense. He said he was going out now making friends using Facebook principles. So he walks up and down the street every day, and he says, I talk to strangers. I tell them what I did last night, what I'm going to do tonight. And then I show them pictures of what I had for lunch. And me pulling stuff out of the garage, and me watering the grass, and doing what anybody and everybody does every day. And then I look at them and I tell them that I like them. And I give them a big thumbs up. And it's already working. It's about gaining followers, right? He says it's working. I've got 4 followers already. I got 2 police officers, a private investigator, and a psychiatrist. I'm a Facebook dropout, didn't pass the test. I didn't share or like or comment like the rest. My views are down and no one wants to follow me no more. So I guess I'll have to live like I used to live before. Well, these are the true confessions of a man who lost it all. We're talking about 1,000 friends that won't post on my wall. My dog has got depression, he won't let me film his tricks. And I'm going through withdrawal cause I haven't had my fix. What am I gonna do with my evenings from now on, when all my so-called friends are up chatting till it's dawn? They all shut me out because my profile's out of date. You have to remain active or the world will seal your fate. Well, I'm so old I can recall the first cell phone we made. Also can remember all the fees we never paid. When data wasn't needed and there was no charge to roam. Even when I had the urge, I always came back home. I'm a Facebook dropout, didn't pass the test. I didn't share or like or comment like the rest. My views are down and no one wants to follow me no more. So I guess I'll have to live like I used to live before. Well, if you like mindless dribble, I can recommend a store. They've got more gadgets on the wall, but who knows what they're for. They say I need an app to find out if it's gonna rain. Well, I can tell by watching it run down my window pane. Well, maybe I'm just out of date, but I don't get the trend. They lost me several years ago, and I didn't get it then. Why does everybody have to know that I just changed my socks? And should I tell them when I blow my nose in case they want to watch? I'm a Facebook dropout, didn't pass the test. I didn't share or like or comment like the rest. My views are down and no one wants to follow me no more. So I guess I'll have to live like I used to live before. Well, I was thinking maybe I could have a talk with God. I assume that he's still up there. Heaven help me if he's not. Hey, I won't even need a password. Logging in's a piece of cake. Maybe I'll just head out for a drive along the lake. I hope he still remembers who I am and what's my name. 'Cause I've been rather busy trying to drive myself insane. Being like the others, but I guess it didn't work. So I'm going back to praying true confessions of a jerk. I'm a Facebook dropout, didn't pass the test. I didn't share or like or comment like the rest. My views are down and no one wants to follow me no more. So I guess I'll have to live like I used to live before. I guess I'll have to live like I used to live before. I've had a chance sometimes to talk to some people, and especially older folks sometimes, there's a lot of wisdom under there, you know. Especially if they've known God. And they've said something to this effect, and I believe it's probably true, that during unsettled times like we're having, it can make us come face to face with who we really are. Sometimes there's been people on a treadmill just running. I don't know, when I'm in front of people, I don't know who that even could be, someone here. And they didn't have any time for God. And now all of a sudden, the world's kind of coming unglued. And you're starting to think. And other times, there's those, and I guess I would even be considered in this category. When I was young, I went to church a few times, but I didn't really care for it. Oh, I could put on a show when I went to church. I could pretend like I was doing something. like I liked it, sort of. I could hardly wait to get home, watch the ball game or something. And, but I went to a camp one time. I was working 7 days a week on farms, dairy farms. And I had my motorcycle, and I went out there for 4 days. Somebody told me there's a camp up there. I didn't realize it was a church camp. You had to go to, as a church camp, I thought, well, there's water there, I can do something. I didn't know you had to go to church every night. Like, good grief, wrecked my whole thing. I just went there to find girls, you know, what am I doing here? And I had to go into this place, and this preacher got up, and he was a good preacher. But when I got home, he made me so mad. It was unbelievable. And I remember stomping around the kitchen telling my mother, I couldn't believe these words came out of my mouth. I said, he even made me feel like I'm not a Christian. I never said I was a Christian in my life. But I guess somewhere underneath I thought I was, I guess. But it wasn't until 3 years later that I fell apart. I was suicidal and everything. My best friend had taken his life. And I met a preacher at a wedding, and I went and talked to him and cried all the way home in my steering wheel that night. I met God. And he changed me. Then I was a Christian. And through all of this stuff that's going on right now, there could be some folks, even within church walls, that are all of a sudden realizing, Mom and Dad knew God, or Grandpa and Grandma, but I may be just an intellectual, I know who God is, but He's not there for me right now because I can't even connect with Him. Well, that's a good thing, because that means most times it's when people reach the bottom that they look up. And this song here it's kind of a poem, but it's, you know, the prodigal son, the story in the Bible? And all of us that have come to know the Lord have been a prodigal of some sorts before we came. And I would be in that category too. But that story is, you know, of course the son wants all his inheritance and goes out and squanders it and everything, and then runs out of money and women and everything else, and he comes to himself and says, I'm going to go home. And his dad represents the father heart of God that welcomes him back and says, I forgive you, and takes him in. And this song is called, it's about the average day in the life of the prodigal's father and how he felt. Well, it's morning, time to rise again. I need to milk the cows and slop the hogs in the pan. There's lots of chores to do, just a typical average day. But before I go, I need to stop and pray. You see, my son's been gone now for many months. I keep his picture on the nightstand. That's my way of staying in touch. Often wonder what he's doing, if he's safe and where he is. So I take my worries to the Lord, because he's sort of in the biz. He's been listening to a lot of prayers since time on earth began. And he's carried lots of folks. He must have read those footprints in the sand. So I'm gonna ask him now to watch my son so he'll be okay. 'Cause time is moving, the cows are waiting. I must get on with my day. But later on, I'll have a minute, maybe more when it gets near noon. As I'm walking through the pasture where the clover's all in bloom. Out there the sky's so big, God seems so awful near. I'll ask him to remind my son that I still love him, oh so dear. Just because the world came calling, don't mean he won't change his mind. And God don't give up on folks too easy. He knows how to give sight to the blind. There's no guarantees coming back, but I'm hoping that he will. And when I get to crying, God seems to hold me till I'm still. Some say I'm such a pillar, but I'm merely just a man. Yes, I've got faith, but there are days when I can hardly stand. I get overcome with grief because my son asleep, drift off to a dream, to where the sun is always up, the grass is always green. This life is filled with troubles, I can't carry them alone. But one day soon I will depart and enter my true home. I know there's more than one prodigal still out there on the run. If yours just left the other day, you're probably coming all undone. I hope you found a little comfort as you looked at my average day. You see, we can't bring them home. All God asks is that we pray. A song can mean different things to different people. Sure. I got 2 more songs, I think, if I can do it, if you don't mind. I have this whole thing about singing to the elderly. I never, I've always been kind of attached to older folks. I meet in concerts, I like hearing their stories. I've always liked that. But I just never, and I was never asked very much even, to go and sing at homes. And so I was praying, not too long ago, just a few days ago actually, about, it's been on my mind a lot. It's like, God, is this what supposed to do moving forward? Like the main emphasis of ministry? Churches, yes, maybe, but not so much. And of course it's volunteer singing, but I watched in the last 2 years as God somehow took care of me. So obviously I almost thought I should pack it in, right? Just go get a job. But even one time I had 30 homes lined up to sing at, and I was thinking, well, I gotta drive all over the place. And the first home I sang at, I turned on my phone after, and somebody had left a message. They wanted 2 CDs, and they sent me $500, which paid for the gas. So I thought, oh, okay, you're trying to show me something here. So God gave me this song just the other day, the first time I'm singing it. It's called Old But Not Forgotten. Old but not forgotten, though their minds aren't quite the same, but bones all weak and hurting, often walking kinda lame. Faces full of wrinkles, whose days are nearly done, but God calls them special. He knows each and every one. To him they're more than someone with a cane and crooked back. He never sees them like some old train that left the track. They're still front and center, and the apple of his eye. As their end grows near, he hears their every sigh. He speaks to them so gently on those tearful, sleepless nights. Tells them about heaven and how in them his heart delights. As their friends die all around them, he is there to hold their hand and give them glimpses of that fair and better land. to that home where they belong. Right now, they're in room 7, about halfway down the hall, watching through the window, shoulders wrapped up in a shawl, seeing children playing in the schoolyard across the street, smiling faces of whom most they'll never meet. In the annals of their mind, they travel back to yesterday. Again, a little toddler, thinking of the games they played, reminiscing through the hours. This film doesn't cost a dime. Seems like life has passed in just a blink of time. Old but not forgotten, no, never in God's eyes. And beneath their age and wrinkles is where so much wisdom lies. And those in love with Jesus have a deep abiding song. They're looking forward to that home where they belong. But their most important memory is of when they found the Lord, of how their burdens lifted and the world no longer roared. Now in those quiet moments, with the Bible on their lap, they ponder that great book, eternity's roadmap. Old but not forgotten, no, never in God's eyes. And beneath their age and wrinkles is where so much wisdom lies. And those in love with Jesus have a deep abiding song. They're looking forward to that home where they belong. Those in love with Jesus have a deep abiding song. They're looking forward to that home where they belong. Of course, not only are there lonely people in places like that that need encouragement, not only are there seasoned saints that I look up to and wish it all, but there's also a number, as I've been reminded, that they're not ready. They're almost about to step into eternity and they're not ready. So it's a mission field in a lot of ways. And so I've grown to love this. So I have and I leave free CDs, just like my CDs back here, they're free. If people give me a donation, they can, but they don't have to. But I have a book. I did this 12 years ago, so I don't think I'm doing it too often, but I went around collecting names, not for fan mail. It's like a prayer newsletter that I send out once a year, just to remind people. And if you would like to sign up, you can. So the last song I'm going to sing is called "Praise Him in the Bad Times," and God gave me this song in March 2020, just as the pandemic was getting underway, and I woke up with this song, and so I would sing it at homes. But it's not just for them. It's quite a test of our faith, isn't it? What we're living in. Will we thank God in the valley? Will we praise God and thank God in the bad times. So I'll finish with this. Did the world around you crumble, and you're throwing up your hands, so afraid you're gonna stumble, mess up all your earthly plans? You're uncertain of tomorrow. Can you face another day, overcome by all your sorrow? Look to God, He'll make a way. Is the water getting deeper? Are you listening to the side? Is your mountain getting steeper? Do you have no place to hide? And you're afraid you're going under, and you're up against the wall. But God has never made a blunder. He will catch you if you fall. Will we praise Him in the bad times, when nothing's making sense, when all that's stable up and unwise, and our nerves are getting tense, when we're facing days of hunger, when our family falls apart? Just keep looking to the Savior. He'll bring comfort to your heart. Has your heart been bruised and broken by someone you love so dear, giving you the passing notion of just walking off the pier, fearing no one understands you? You sit at night and cry alone, when you've done all that you can do. You need to dial heaven's phone. You'll never get no busy signal. The line is open night and day. Please give Him a little jingle. Just look up, start to pray, and your fears will somehow vanish. So don't go sounding no alarms. With Him at your side, you'll manage, as He wraps you in His arms. So you can praise Him in the bad times, oh, when nothing's making sense, when all that's stable up and unwise, and your nerves are getting tense, when you're facing days of hunger, when your family falls apart. Just keep looking to the Savior. He'll bring comfort to your heart. Just keep looking